This is Verum Organon, and today we are discussing the essay, Women, Liberation, an Alternative Viewpoint. We're going to dig into a powerful and maybe even challenging idea. Today, we're going to talk about something called the packaged mind. It's a really fascinating way to think about where our deepest beliefs actually come from. So let's unpack it.
Okay, so just take a second to really absorb this metaphor. It's pretty powerful, isn't it? The idea is that so many of our strongest opinions, well, they might not be the result of our own thinking at all. They're like these prepackaged sets of ideas, intellectual cassettes, if you will, that we just sort of insert into our minds and play back on command. It makes you wonder, are we really thinking for ourselves, or are we just hitting play on someone else's thoughts?
And that leads us to this really direct question. For you, personally, have you ever just stopped and asked yourself if your core beliefs are genuinely yours, or were they kind of imported? Accepted so completely that you've forgotten they came from a box, all pre-assembled by somebody else.
To really see how this works in the real world, let's take one of the most powerful packaged ideas of our time, what it means to be a liberated woman. We're going to poke at some of the definitions of success that society often just hands to us as unquestionable facts.
First, let's just look at the labels we use. On one hand, we've got the working woman. And that term, it's loaded with all these positive feelings, right? Independence, contribution, value. But on the other hand, what do we have? The jobless woman. Think about that word, jobless. Is anyone who runs a household, who manages an entire family, ever truly without a job?
And this, right here, this highlights the automatic value judgment that we're all kind of taught to make. CEO versus homemaker. Society basically screams at us that one of these is the absolute peak of success, and the other, well, it's something less. But wait a minute, what is that judgment actually based on? Who got to decide which one holds more value?
Which brings us to the whole point. We have this neatly packaged idea that having a career out in the world equals liberation, while a life that's centered on the home, well, that doesn't. But is freedom really that simple? Is it just a binary choice between two lifestyles that somebody else has pre-approved for us?
So to really understand this packaged idea, we have to do something that might feel a little uncomfortable. We need to actually explore the so-called conservative or patriarchal perspective, but not as this cartoon villain drawn by its opponents. No, we need to hear it on its own terms.
Seriously, think about it. Is your understanding of this viewpoint built on actually engaging with it directly? Or is it more of a secondhand story, a narrative told to you by the very people who disagree with it? You have to remember, the most effective packaging is when you don't even realize you're being sold something.
So all of this leads us to the absolute core of the issue. Let's dig in and investigate what might be the ultimate form of empowerment, the simple, powerful freedom of personal choice. Let me give you a real-world example. Picture a family. The sons, who love their mother very much, repeatedly ask her not to wear a burkha, especially on really hot days. They're not being controlling, they're just worried about her comfort, her well-being.
And yet, despite all their loving concern, she always chooses to wear it. Now, it's really easy to look at that from the outside and say, oh, that's just societal pressure. But what if the most liberating act of all is simply having the power to make your own choice, even if other people who love you, don't agree with it?
And that is the crucial point right there. True choice isn't just about picking between option A and option B on some pre-approved list. It's the right to choose what you want, even if that choice happens to be a traditional path. And get this, it even includes the radical freedom to yield your choice to someone or something else, as long as that is what you yourself have decided to do.
This all pushes us toward a much deeper question. Is liberation something we do on the outside, like a performance for the world to see? Or is it an internal state of being? Is it freedom of the mind? Our culture today often tells us that liberation means being seen, making your body a public thing, visible to millions of eyes. But what if there's an equal, or maybe even a greater liberation in the freedom from all those eyes, in the deep security of being seen and cherished by just one person?
And here's the same idea, but with your voice. We're told that success is a megaphone, being heard by millions of people. But how many of those millions are actually listening? Maybe true freedom isn't about broadcasting to the masses, but about being deeply listened to and understood by a select few. It's just another choice, another totally valid path.
Ultimately, everything we've talked about really boils down to this one single, powerful idea. Liberation isn't something society gives you. It's not defined by your job title or what you wear. It is a state of mind. And if you follow that logic, it means you are only a slave if you believe yourself to be one.
Okay, so let's take that idea and just blow it up a bit. Let's broaden this scope. If real freedom is internal and being constrained comes from yielding your choice, then maybe this isn't just about women. Maybe we are all, in our own ways, living within some kind of constraints.
Yeah, this isn't a one-sided thing at all. Men also yield their choices, a lot of the time without even realizing it. They're guided by this incredibly powerful script of expectations. The duty of a son, the obligations of a husband, the big role of a father. This packaged idea of masculinity also steers their path, often away from what they might have chosen for themselves.
Here's a powerful metaphor to chew on. When you see a chain that looks like it's binding one person, isn't the person holding the other end also bound by it? A chain, by its very nature, connects two ends. The person who seems to be in control is just as tied to the whole dynamic as the person being controlled. In society, our roles and our expectations, they bind all of us together.
And so we're going to end here with one last question for you to think about. If we could actually strip away all the prepackaged definitions of success, of liberation, of empowerment, what does freedom actually look like? Once you take it out of the box, what shape does it take for you?
That would be all. The link to the essay is in the description. Don't forget to share and subscribe.